So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tamika Davis. I am a triple diamond leader out of Rock Springs, Wyoming. Anyone been to Wyoming who's not on my team? I've lived here for almost 10 years now. I'm originally from Utah. I've been with It Works for 4.5 years now. And before doing this business, I was a high school math teacher and soccer coach. So just kind of reminds me of Mark's story a lot. So I can really resonate with that and just really grateful for this business. And I wanted to put together a Zoom here at the very beginning of the month because I feel like, we all joined this business to make money. Or I guess I should say that. We all joined this business either to make money, to make friends, or to be able to live a healthier lifestyle, right? Most of us to make money. And what I have found is this is just extra income. If you weren't doing this business, you wouldn't have this extra. But for some reason, there's just not a lot of extra left come the end of the month or left come when we need it. And so it's just kind of been on my heart a lot lately that I want to find someone who is knowledgeable and proficient about money management, because I've always heard the term that, if you don't take care of what you have now, then how can you expect God to give you more? And so, being really intentional with where is your money going? And what are you spending it on? And what should you be investing in? Where should you be placing it in order to best take care of it? And I know it's going to look different for everybody and everyone's different situations, but I'm super excited and grateful to have Tammy and Traci on with us tonight to kind of share their knowledge and expertise. So make sure you've got a paper and pencil handy so that way you can kind of take some notes. And we're going to get right into it, okay? So we're going to start with Tammy. Tammy's been in the business for almost 6 years. She's about to hit that 6-year mark. She's a presidential diamond from Michigan. And when she told me what her occupation was, it kind of intimidated me. I was trying to write it down. I couldn't even spell it. Exercise psychologist with an MBA. And I'm excited to hear from you and kind of how you got started in the business. Because first off, you would not be a person I would approach ever, because I'm way more than I know about everything. So tell us kind of how you got started in the business, a little bit about your story, and then you can just kind of go into your money management tips.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. First off, it says I'm muted. Now I'm unmuted. Okay. Something popped up on my screen. I was like, oh, wait. So first of all, thanks for having me. I'm excited to do this. And I was telling Tamika that I love talking about this, because this is something that, I started this business for money reasons, because we needed money. And from the outside looking in, you wouldn't think so. But, inside, I had taken out quite a bit of student loans for my master's degree and my undergrad, but I had scholarships and stuff, but I still had a lot of student loan debt. And so when I actually finished my MBA, I was job searching for over 2 years before I could find a job. And at that point, I still hadn't even found what I really wanted to do. I just kind of took something in the interim, looking for my dream job, or, so everybody thinks you're going to go to school and you're going to have 50 million people trying to recruit you, and you're going to be making 6 figures a year right off the bat. And so all this glory and excitement, and then the real world hits, and it didn't happen that way. So I was actually working as an exercise physiologist. So I did a lot of work with patients. I worked in cardiology for 10 years. So my background was just EKG interpretation and running people on the treadmill. I was that bad person that just made them go until they couldn't go any further. And so I worked really closely with doctors and nurses and ER and that type of thing. So I loved what I did. But the thing is I was maxed out at my pay scale, and I was only 28 years old. What was I going to do with the rest of my life? Actually, I think it was maxed out at 25, 26 at what I could make in one of the biggest healthcare industries in Michigan. So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So that's why I went for my MBA. Well, once I finished my MBA, there was mergers and acquisitions and everything else happened. And meanwhile, I'm not even, network marketing was never on my radar. But I actually had been watching my cousin, who most of you probably know who she is. She is the number one money earner in the company, Stephanie Dunn. is my cousin. Back then, okay, so you just said you probably never would have approached me. She never approached me. She never messaged me and asked me to join her business. And it was probably the same reason. Like, I'm focused. I'm going for my master's degree. I'm in corporate America. I don't need this, type of a mentality or a mindset. Well, that just goes to show you got to ask everybody. But for me, I ended up approaching her. And it was because my student loans came due and I was going to have to start owing another $800 a month on top of all of our other debts and all of our other payments and our house and our car and everything else. $800 a month is almost a mortgage to some people, So it was like, that's a lot of money. How am I going to come up with this? At that time I had a toddler at home and we wanted to have another child eventually. So it was like, how are we going to do this? Daycare, everything else on both of our incomes. Like we were a 2-income family and we still weren't making ends meet with an extra $800. So that's why I reached out to her. Talk about the beginning stages of money management. We did not have any management of our money. So I literally reached out to her for an extra, like, can I do this? Do you think this is something I could do? Like, I have a health background. It's health and wellness products. I had never tried anything. I did not know what the heck she was selling. I saw her posting before and after pictures. I had no idea how high up she was in this company. And this was like almost 6 years ago. So she was, I think, the number 7 money earner at that time. But I had no clue. I mean, you don't know from the outside looking in, like at our company, like who's high up and who's not. You're just a person, right? So I messaged her and signed up within a half hour. So in the beginning, I worked really hard because I wanted to pay my student loan debt. Like that was what my focus was. I had a ton. At that point, it was telling me I was going to be 72 years old before I paid off all my student loans. Like, are you freaking kidding me right now? It's ridiculous how horrible it is. And so I was like, I want to get it paid off. It's driving me nuts. And so 2 months after starting this business, I got pregnant with my second son. And so I was like, okay, well, that's cool. Like we were excited, but we were paying, like $1,000 plus a month for daycare for our first son. And then another child in daycare because they were only 2.5 years apart. Okay, where's this money all coming from? So I was like, we kind of sat down and I had a heart to heart with my husband. I think I was Ruby, like just barely Ruby, like 3 months in. And I was like, I can't, what are we going to do? Am I going to go back to work after I have this child, or should I really try to work hard at this business and like try to make more money? So I just put my nose to the grindstone, and you guys, I was pregnant. I had a toddler at home. My husband worked third shift. He worked an opposite shift as me. No, he worked second at that time. I worked first. So we literally did not see each other. We were like hi and bye, dropping the kid off at daycare. I was going to work. I came home and I worked my business every night. I worked during my breaks at work and did parties and did events and everything. Like I did expos and things like that on the weekends. And I literally just was like, my why was so strong. Like, if I can get to double diamond by the time we have this baby, I could quit my job. But my mindset was like, I have to make minimum $4,000 a month in order to be able to quit my job. Like, I didn't want to fall behind. I wanted to be able to pay off my debt. So sure enough, I was on maternity leave with my second son. And I went double diamond the end of that month. I had him on June 3rd, and on June 28th, I think, I went double diamond. So I was able to put in my resignation from my full-time job 10 years in working in the health field. Yeah, I mean, it was literally like, I look back and I'm like, I have no idea how I even did that. You know how you have those times where you're just like, how did you do that? You didn't sleep? Like you were so tired? Like you had a toddler at home. You're up all night. Like, it was just, I don't know. It was a blur. You look back and it was like 10 months of a time frame. And it was like, boom, I hit double diamond. And so then I retired from my full-time job. And you guys, I've been home ever since with both of my boys, which that in itself is just such a blessing. I'm so thankful. But Within a year after hitting double, then of course I'm like, I'm still hungry. I still want this. I hit triple. So less than 3 years in the business, I went triple. And then, I mean, I got the bonuses and everything too. So that's, I mean, life-changing money. You guys know that. Those numbers are just life-changing money I'd never seen before. So, unfortunately, I feel like I kind of got caught up in the whole like leadership, top leader mentality, where it was like, I had a lot of my leadership friends and girls that I was close with and that I grew close with that were making a lot of money were buying like Louis Vuitton purses. And I'm not a purse person. I'm like the biggest like tomboy you've ever seen. And I don't wear I mean, this is me normal every day. You picked a really nice picture for the Zoom. But that's not me normally. But so it was like my thing though, I was like, I really want this car. I wanted an Acadia. So I went out and bought a $40,000 car because I could afford it. Right. So we financed this car and it's gorgeous. I still have it. And guess what? It's almost paid off at this point, but it was a mistake, and it was something that looking back now, I never would have done. But it was everything I wanted. And with another baby, and needing more room and all that, I justified it. And plus it's like, you want to prove to people that you're doing well, that you're successful. So I'm not carrying around a Louis Vuitton, right? Like I'm not moving out of my home into like this gorgeous, huge mansion. Like my lifestyle from the outside looking in doesn't look like much different has changed. So I felt people were questioning, is she really doing well? So of course I got my dream car too, to make it feel like justifiable. Like, yeah, look at me, like I'm doing well, and I am so thankful that I was even able to make those payments and stuff. But now, about a year in from hitting triple diamond, within that year, my business started going downhill. And I had a very large amount of people leave for another company. Life happened. Paychecks started dropping. I'm just blessed to be able to say I didn't ever have to go back to work. It didn't ever get that bad, but it got bad enough that I was like deeply considering picking something else up because I was scared. And we still had debt. And I'm like, this is not right. We can't ever get into this position again. And my dad, back in the day, we went and saw Dave Ramsey. And so we actually saw him in person 2 different times. And I loved hearing what he had to say. But at that time, I was a college student. It wasn't for me. I didn't think I needed to hear what he had to say. I didn't have any debt. I just had student loans, like that type of a thing. So fast forward to about a year ago, about 22 months ago, actually, to be exact, I got on the website and I signed my husband up for Financial Peace University. That was when I was pretty much at almost my lowest point. I didn't know what to do, besides trying to get ourselves set mentally, like to be more financially focused and figure out what we were doing. We were spending our money. We never had a budget, you guys. We never had a budget. We've been married. We just celebrated our 13-year anniversary. And as of 22 months ago, before that, we had never had a budget. And so it's that number one was huge for us to sit down and have a budget set up. And we just went through the program and it changed our lives. As of right now, we've paid off over $68,000 in 22 months. We do have a ways to go yet. Obviously, I had almost $80,000 in student loans alone. But my goal is to be completely financially free, before we're 40, and I'm 37. So, I mean, that's mortgage, everything, like completely no payments at all. And we'll probably hit it before then just because we're so focused on it. But it was something that we literally were just going through the motions every day, and we weren't even really thinking of it or paying attention to it. And so it really was an eye-opening experience to have to hit that point where you're like, something has to give. and you're not willing to try to take out another loan or to make, borrow something so you can rob Peter to pay Paul or whatever it is. So that's kind of my story. I think I went a little long, but it was just, there was a lot to it. And of course, since I was a good steward of my money, I don't know about you guys, but I am a Christian, and I very, very, it's just very important to me to thank God for everything that I have. And since we have been given the money that we have been given in our business, to be able to be a good steward of your money is huge too. And now that I have been making the right decisions and we've been putting money towards our debt and everything, my business has turned around, and I just promoted to presidential back in March, and received a $25,000 bonus. And it's just crazy how things can change. And I did want to give you guys a book that also helped me along with the Financial Peace University with Dave Ramsey. It is called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. That was huge for me to, it really opened my eyes to, it's almost like you have that money mindset. You have that idea of what money should do for you or whatever it is. And even your upbringing and everything can affect the way you treat or think about money. So that's a great book to read if you guys are in that position or you're feeling that way. Just, download that book on Audible. It's really, really good. Yeah, so that's pretty much my background and my story. I don't know if there was something else I was supposed to add.
No, that was great. And I love, your whole story kind of revolves around what we want to talk on this call, because I feel like so many times in this business, like people, you're making more than you ever thought possible. And then we just get a little bit too frugal with our money, and we start digging ourselves a hole, not even knowing that we're doing it because we feel like we're on top of the world. And it's a really scary place to be. And so I'm so grateful that you're willing to share that with us. And so hopefully, some people that are on the call that are going for these big bonuses will know that to be wise. So if you kind of just want to go into how you got started with it. I know you talked about, you signed up online, and just any tips and advice that you can give us would be awesome.
For the Financial Peace University? Yeah. So I just had remembered Dave Ramsey and the name. So I just went on and Googled Dave Ramsey and came up with the website. And right on the website, there was a Financial Peace University, and you could click on it. And it can tell you, like, there's churches that do it all over the place. And usually it's hosted by a church, somebody hosting it, and it's at a church. So I just signed up and looked up for where I could go in person, because you can do them online. You can do the classes online. But for me, I'm a visual, like, I need to be in the action, like doing it in order to really grasp it. And I wanted my husband to be doing that with me as well. So we found a church that was local to us and signed up, and yeah, like different churches do it, or different, banks. Cool. I didn't even know banks did it, but yeah, around our area, we're in West Michigan, and we're very conservative, in a very conservative area. So like mostly churches do it. But it's just like, it's a really good 9-week program. And you go for I think it's 2 hours once a week. And then it's like in a group setting. So you have accountability partners with other couples or other people. There was single people there was couples, there was all ages. I mean, from just college age to, 60s and 70-year-old people. And so it's just really eye-opening to see, you're not alone too. It makes you feel better, because a lot of people don't like to talk about it. And ever since I've been talking about it, there's more and more people that are like, I am in the same boat as you, So it's really, I think it's something that we do need to talk about. We do need to think about more, because we're in the world of instant gratification and financing everything. And really going through that program makes you realize that's not how you're going to become wealthy. Like, who wants to be wealthy? Like, passing down a legacy to your family wealthy. Like, that's not something my family ever experienced. You know, I would be the first person in my family to go to have a legacy to pass on to not only my children, but my grandchildren and my grandchildren's children. Like, how crazy is that? That's the kind of wealth and legacy I'm talking about. And it's possible for anybody. It doesn't matter how much money you make. Like, they were talking about the average millionaires, and they just did a study on 100,000 millionaires in the United States. And like 80% of them did not make more than $60,000 a year over their lifetime. Like, how crazy is that? You know, like, you can become a millionaire without making $200,000 a year. So it's just, what are you doing with your money? And so it really does make you, going through that whole program makes you realize what you should be doing and what you should be focusing on. And creating the budget is the basis of all of it.
Awesome. So I kind of go the opposite way. Like, I have like a money blueprint of like fear of not having any. So I don't ever spend any, and I always save it. But, so my question to you is, you know, you said you went, I think you said, I can't remember, 22 months is when you've had your budget. So to be with your husband for that long, like, how did that conversation start? How did you decide on what budget, or did the course give you all the information? And how do you stay disciplined? I mean, obviously you go to the weekly meetings, but any tips or advice on that?
Yeah. So we did the Financial Peace University course twice. The second time we took my sister and her husband. And they're completely debt free outside of their house now because they didn't have the student loan debt that I had. So that's amazing to see someone else go through it. And that's accountability too. You know, we're both doing it together. So it was to the point, I mean, to be completely honest with you guys, like, we ended up taking out a small, home equity loan line of credit, on our house to pay off a higher interest credit card. And at that point, we were $40,000 in credit card debt. And it was like, I got into that mode of, I'm a top leader and I need to travel everywhere and I need to go everywhere. I mean, I flew 1 year after I went triple. I flew 12 times in 1 year to different places. I flew to launch new teammates in Florida, South Carolina, Texas. I went to tons and tons of events, which is awesome, but I overdid it to the point where it was like, I just was putting it all on my business credit card. But then instead of paying it off every month, I was racking up more and more debt. So I realized that I was going to have to figure something out. Instead of taking out more debt and putting that towards my, taking out a line of credit, I need to just straighten myself up and have that budget. And we never had one, and I didn't know where to get started. So that's how we did it. And I just basically told my husband, because I was like the one that did all the finances. So I'm like, this is out of control. I can't do this anymore. We need to get this taken care of. I signed us up for Financial Peace. And he just came with me. And he's been very good about it. He's been supportive, and he works full time and everything still too. And so it's like, we're now on the same page because we have that budget. And that's how we stay accountable is right behind the screen here and then my Zoom on my computer is our budget. And I do it every single month. So like when I have events, when I do things, it's in my budget. I know exactly what I'm going to be spending. I don't completely take events out. I go to almost every event. I was just in St. Louis, and then we went to Vegas and did a huge esthetician show. But now it's all in my budget, and I know it's accounted for, and I'm paying cash for everything.
That is awesome. I'm so grateful for you. And so thank you for everything that you shared. And if at the end we have time for questions, then you guys can just drop them in the chat. We'll go over to Traci. Traci is from Mississippi, and she has a background in customer service, retail. She's got her master's degree, and she is a triple diamond who just hit her 2-year mark, you guys. Only been in the business for 2 years, hit triple diamond. So excited to hear from her a little bit about how you got started and then tips that you have for managing money.
Awesome. Hey guys, thanks for having me. So my story is kind of crazy. I actually didn't get into the business because I wanted to make extra money or wanted to get healthy or any, I mean, like, of course I wanted all that, but I signed under the $9.99 special 2 years ago. So I literally just made 2 years last week. And my sister had been on the greens for several years through a friend of hers. And her friend kept trying to get her into the business. And, you know, my sister said, you know, kept saying she couldn't afford it, whatever. And so then it was $9.99. And so she said, well, I'll sign up, you know, for $10. Well, so she was looking for, I don't know what exactly the deal was, but like if she got 5 people, she got a bonus, or, you know, I guess she was trying to get built for Ruby. I don't remember all the details at the time, but anyway, she was looking for 5 people. And so I said, well, I'll do it just to help you. You know, I had done network marketing in college. I did makeup, hated it. I was one of those people that, like, you know, when network marketing people came, I would like run the other way because like they're going to pressure me and I don't want to do all that. And so I had no interest. And so I actually have a history of drug and alcohol addiction. So I had gotten out of rehab in March of 2017. So just 3 months before I joined, I had gotten out of rehab. And I was in an abusive marriage. And so I had moved like 10 hours away to be with my family and go through rehab and all that. And so I was starting over in every sense of the word. I didn't have network. I didn't have friends. I didn't have a job. I didn't have anything. I mean, I was starting over from rock bottom, literally rock bottom. I mean, I was like this close to death, you know, so I was just starting over in every sense of the word. And so, so I joined just to support my sister, but then I started like joining these Facebook groups that the team and these chat groups, and, you know, everybody was like so positive and having so much fun. And, you know, it just gave me like a place to belong. And it gave me like, I said, I think I really want to try this. And my sister was like, well, you know, you can get a shopping spree. And I said, well, I'm going to go for it, you know. So I really started working the business. And, you know, I found a place to belong, and I found something to do, and I found something positive to be a part of. And so I went Ruby in 2 months. And then I'm sorry, executive 2 months, Ruby 2 months after that. Went to conference, and well, back up a little bit. I won a ticket for conference. I won a ticket for to go to Paris with the Diamond Retreat as a Ruby, and so that was pretty amazing. And so that really taught me to dream, and, you know, that like amazing things are possible with this business. And so I went to conference and was just really struggling with belief, you know, just, I mean, I've always struggled with weight. And so this was like 40 pounds ago. And so I was like, there's no way a chubby girl can have success in this business, you know. And so struggling with belief, you know, I didn't think I could. They only gave us like a month to go Emerald at that point. And I was like, there's no way I can do this. No way. So I was like super close to quitting. And then I left conference and I just put, you know, I just dove in, and lo and behold, 2 months later, I went Emerald. 2 months later, I went Diamond. 2 months later, I went Double. And now I've never made probably more than, probably even with a master's degree, I've probably never made more than $2,000 a month in my life. And so for a long time in the business, I never made more than $200. So until I went, there was an Emerald bonus. So until I went Emerald, I didn't make more than $200 because I really didn't have anybody working under me. I mean, I pretty much went to Diamond maybe even double by myself. And so now I don't have a lot of overhead. I moved in with my parents after rehab, and just being in recovery, I wasn't ready to live by myself because I was like, I could just go buy alcohol and I wouldn't have accountability, so I was really living with them for accountability. And then in December, I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm strong. I was making decent money. So I was like, I'm ready to move out. And then my father has Parkinson's disease, and he came home on hospice in January. And so it was just kind of God's way of saying, it's not time yet, and so I don't have a lot of overhead. So here I was making amazing money, without having, I don't have a family, I don't have children, don't have a spouse. And so, it was just me with like thousands of dollars. So, I was having fun. I was flying places, I was traveling, I was basically buying anything that I wanted. I did not have, my credit was shot, so I didn't have credit cards or anything like that. However, when I left Tennessee and moved home to Mississippi, I had tons of medical debt and tons of credit card debt. And I left that part of my life. And basically, I had to start over just to have my life and my safety and my sanity, leaving an abusive marriage and, getting sober and healthy and all that. So I never really thought about all that financial stuff from years ago. I didn't have my address changed, so I had my phone number changed, so I wasn't getting letters from creditors. I wasn't getting phone calls from creditors or anything like that. And so, as I was double, I was built for triple at the beginning of the year. And, I set my goals for the year, and I was like, I want to have $5,000 in savings. I want to, that was my goal for the year. I want to have $5,000 in savings. I want to make a $10,000 paycheck. And, I had some other things too, but I really started, so I joined Dave Ramsey's program at that point, and I got the book and all that. And I went to one class, and I ended up having to, I want to say like the next week was conference or something like that. And so like I had to travel. And so I was like, I can't do this class thing. And so, I actually kind of just put it on the back burner. Well, then I went triple in April. And well, even before I went triple in, I want to say February or March, I had a $12,000 paycheck. And so, my goal was to have a $10,000 paycheck. And here I am just 2 or 3 months into the year, and I had a $12,000 paycheck. And this girl did some shopping, y'all. I didn't have any boundaries. It was like, if I wanted it, I bought it. I bought all this new bedroom furniture, I just kind of went crazy. But I really, I want to go to the top of this company. I want to be in the top 150, and so I started really thinking about, I need to have structure. I need to have a plan. Because the reality is, if you can't budget $200 a month, you can't budget $12,000 a month, and so, y'all, that $12,000 slipped through my fingers like nobody's business, and it was really just a reality check for me. And so what I ended up doing was I looked on Dave Ramsey's site, and they have all these resources. And so I found a coach, a financial coach. And I was like, I feel like that's really what I need, is to sit with somebody face to face and come up with a game plan and have accountability. And so that's what I did. So in, let me think, I'm approaching my 3rd month. So I paid for 3 months of one-on-one counseling with this girl. And so I met with her, and she helped me to come up with a budget. Now, you guys, I don't like structure. I'm very rebellious. I don't like being reined in. And so the idea of a budget was so terrifying to me. But it has become so liberating to me because it's not about what you can and can't do. It's about prioritizing what you truly, truly want. In a lot of ways, it's like my health journey. I can eat anything that I want to, but do I want to lose weight? You can't have both. And so it's about prioritizing. So, I can spend, I can go buy a Louis Vuitton purse if I want to, but that's just going to be even longer that I get out of debt, and so that's what my coach has kind of helped me to see is that it's about prioritizing, and it's about, I want to be free in every sense of the word. I set out in January that freedom is my word for the whole entire year, to have financial freedom, to have freedom in my health, to have freedom in my business, to, finally, I haven't been able to get divorced from this horrible man. So to get, free from him. And, last week, God, set me free. And so now I'm finally free from that man. But anyway, so this has been my year of freedom. And so I just set out. And, the one thing I was thinking about today is that, this is a lot like charting. If you don't chart, you're not going to promote, and so it's the same kind of way. Like, you have to have a plan before you. You have to have a structure, and that's all that the budget is. And you have to see in your mind where you want to go and what you want to do. And I'm brand new at this, you guys, but I mean, in 2 months, I've paid off $5,000 worth of debt. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And after I went triple, I really kind of let my guard down and I started chilling a little bit, and, I kind of lost my fire, and my income is just starting to tank, and I was thinking about, Cami Pentecost said that, she never made more than a certain amount of money. She couldn't ever make more than she made as a coach and a teacher until she changed her mindset. And so I reached out in the Lifers group just like last week about resources that are good. And that millionaire mindset, I actually just got that in the mail today, because I want to grow my mind. I want freedom in my mind. I want freedom in, and I'm like, well, isn't that surprising? Isn't that, it's not really ironic, but my income, I made like 12 grand for like 2 months, and then it just started to tank, And so, now I'm like, I've got to grow some more. I've got to stretch my mind. I've got to claim that freedom. I got to, keep before me where I'm headed, and, just run. So I'm super excited. I love this journey.
I love that you guys' stories are kind of like so opposite, it almost feels like, but like that this is for everyone, regardless of the situation that you're in, and that by creating this budget, it really does create freedom in all aspects. And I love what you said, Tammy, about the millionaires who on average don't make more than $60,000 a year, but it's just because they know how to take care of what they have. And one other thing I'd like you to touch on, Traci, is I feel like a lot of times people have this idea that they want to do this, but the timing isn't right. And, will the timing ever be right? Or how do you just decide that, like, because how much money you make, I believe, is truly in your mind. Like your income will always match your mindset. So if you want your income to grow, you always have to be growing your mindset first. And I feel like me being brought up, and I know I'm like going all of these different ways, so you're going to have to find a way to tie this back together for me. But growing up, I was always just told, like, the harder you work, the more money you can make. But when it's all said and done, you are gonna reach a cap. And unless if you learn how to take care of what you have, unless if you learn to grow that money mindset and change that money blueprint, like, you're turning away money from the universe just because of your money blueprint, according to that book and stuff. And so can you maybe touch base on, how to just decide that you're going to do it and commit a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I don't really know. I mean, I think it's just a matter of just doing it, you know? I mean, like there's never going to be a perfect time. Um, you know, I will say it was easier for me to budget when I had an abundance of money. It's harder when you know, I mean, just because it was like, oh, I'm going to pay off this debt, pay off this debt, pay off this debt, you know, and you know, as income dwindles, you know, my priorities have to shift. And you know, I just think you have to decide, you know, do you want financial freedom? Do you want your life to be different? Do you want um you know, we teach so much about believing in the impossible and, you know, seeing the impossible things happen. And, you know, the longer you put it off, the less likelihood that miracles are going to take place for you. You know, I mean, you just got to chase it. You got to dive in and just go for it. And, you know, it's so worth it. It is so worth it. And, you know, we can always chase, you know, what we want and chase, you know, monetary pleasures and, you know, things that are fleeting. But, you know, stuff like, you know, not having total freedom and just knowing that you can do what you want to do and go where you want to go and you're not tied down. You know, and the fact that if you have debt, someone else owns you, you know. And so it's just about freedom of, you know, I own me, I own my money, I own my time. I mean, I want freedom in everything, freedom of time, freedom of, you know, nobody, you know, is going to hound me and say, you owe us, you know, this much money. You know, I just want liberation, you know, in every sense of the word, in every, you know, part of my life. And, you know, belief, I think, is a big part of that. You know, I think, you know, if you have to believe that that's really possible for you. I mean, if this chubby girl, you know, divorced, you know, 2 years clean and sober, you know, I mean, if I can be successful at this business, anybody can be successful at this business. And that's a big part of my story, you know, even on Facebook and everything, is telling people that anybody can do this. You know, if I can be triple diamond making a $12,000 paycheck, anybody can do this, you know. So I think you just have to believe and just know that it's possible for you, and just claim it and just run.
I love it.
I don't know if that answered your question.
Yes, that was great. And we got one question in the chat and then we'll let everybody go. So thank you so much. So Tammy or Traci, either one of you, if you have experience with this, how do you budget when your income isn't fixed?
I can talk about that because I've been budgeting now for 22 months, and so it's kind of like it's become something that initially it does take time. It takes it because for me, like my check kind of will fluctuate by the thousands sometimes. I mean, that's a big difference when you're trying to budget things. So what Dave really teaches to do is cover your four walls first. So your home, your food, like make sure you have something to eat, your utilities, and I think it's a vehicle, maybe, possibly. I don't remember exactly. It's basically get your four walls covered. I feel like for me, at least, I will start out with, I have like one side on my Excel spreadsheet with income and one side with expenses. And so my expenses are all like the very top ones are like our house payment, my student loan payment, the car payment, like then all of your utilities, obviously. Basic things that happen every single month, no questions asked, right? And then you take from your income, go down the list. So the first thing you want to do, if you guys are getting into this, you're going to want to have an emergency fund. Like $1,000 emergency fund is absolutely number one, step one, because that way with our irregular, I was dipping into our emergency fund a lot the first few months of my budget because of that reason. Like the first month I wrote out my budget and maybe I made $1,000 more than my next month. Well, my next month, my budget was a little too gracious. So I had to go back and like, oh crap, now I screwed myself over. Well, I didn't, because I have my $1,000 emergency fund. So now instead of taking money out using my credit card that I normally would have done, I have a cash reserve sitting here. And it's not a lot, but it's enough that if it's a little bit of wiggle room, a couple $100, I can borrow from that. And then the next month, number one thing is I budget that extra $200 to go back into my emergency fund. So it's really what you have to do is just get into it, get started, do your absolute necessities first, and then go from there. Whatever you have left over outside of your $1,000 emergency fund, you are to attack your debt with it. So you are instantly putting it towards your debt. So right now, my debt snowball, I think I have like an extra $2,000 a month that I can throw at my debt based on our budget right now. So, but it's changing. It's ever changing. It just depends on the income that you have coming in. And again, like when you have your income, if it's really fluctuating a lot, maybe for now you kind of go off of your minimum. This is like off of your minimum paycheck, like what you feel like your lowest paycheck would be. He does talk about that. I listen to his podcast all the time too. So he talks about that. Just go off of what your lowest has been, maybe like your last 6 months average low. And then anything you have above and beyond that, you can put towards debt. So cover your 4 walls, cover your bare necessities, make sure you have that $1,000 emergency fund, and then everything else left over goes towards debt.
I love that. And like, it's just so cool to hear, that you paid off $68,000, like that's a whole nother full-time job just by budgeting. And Traci.
Well, and the thing is in that 22 months, our basement flooded. We had to completely renovate our basement. We ended up refinishing not just our basement. We went up into our main floor, painted all of our walls, redid our kitchen, repainted our entire kitchen, and did tons more work to the inside of our house than we were expecting to do. And we cash flowed every single penny of all of that on top of paying off all of that debt. So, and in the last 3 months, we had a bunch of car problems with both my husband's and my car. My air did not work, and it's like 90 degrees in Michigan right now, and that doesn't work with a 5 and a 7-year-old. So we cash flowed over $2,500 in car repairs on top of that, and that's not counting the debt we paid off. So yeah, it works if you apply it and you stick to it and you don't give yourself a lot of wiggle room. Yeah. And oh, okay. I'm reading the questions, but I don't know. Traci, do you want to answer these or yes, the Every Dollar app is awesome. And I'm old school. So I have an Excel spreadsheet that's probably from my MBA. And I was used to using Excel. So I do use old school, but I do have the Every Dollar app too. It's awesome.
Yeah. So it sounds like you guys everybody can benefit from this 100%. There's a whole lot of free stuff, podcasts, worksheets online, programs in areas all over the place. And so, if you really want to go far in this business and become a millionaire and tackle debt, it starts with the income that you have right now. You can't wait until you start making a lot and then think you're going to budget, because it really starts with what you're making right now. To make that change in your life. So thank you guys so much for being on. I'm going to get this recording up, and I know that so many people are going to find value in it. So thank you again, and we'll see you guys soon.